Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello my friends, welcome to another recommendations video, and this one is going to include 5 random reviews. I have a book that is brand new on this list, I have a fan fiction on this list, and then I have some books that are from previous years for me to recommend to you today. I haven't done one of these in a while. They've generally been themed if I did it, but this is truly like there is no theme to this one at all. We're kind of all over the place, and I thought that that would be fun. I thought that that would be fun to do because you don't know what you're in for, right? You don't know what you're in for. So yeah, today let's start with the one that is the newest review, and then we'll work our way through these today. So the first one that I want to talk about just came out, and I was lucky enough to read an arc of this one, though I did finish it on release day because my schedule has been very full. But I just read King of Sloth by Anna Wong. This is book 4 in her Kings of Sin series. It is a series of interconnected standalones. You know the drill. It's up to you if you'd like to start with, I think, King of Wrath. Yeah, King of Wrath, King of Pride, King of Greed, and then King of Sloth. They are just very lightly connected. Something that I loved about King of Sloth, though, before we fully get into it, is that this one brought in a lot of connections from her Twisted series as well. There is some mention of Queen Bridget having a baby in this one. There's mentions of Alex and I think even Christian's company gets mentioned. So there's a lot more connections in this one even than in some previous ones. And that's because our character Javier in here, he needs some help from some friends. So that's what's going to happen. So this one is about a bit of a spoiled billionaire, as you might guess, with the King of Sloth. Here is a cute little picture of him and Sloan. And Javier is the son of a rich businessman, and his father is dying. And the beginning of this book is actually him blowing off his responsibilities as he's wont to do. He's of a bit of a poor rich boy vibe going for him. He will admit that he has lived a bit of a spoiled life. Of course, he has some pain in his past, as all the best ones do. But for the most part, he is living a pretty charmed life, and he does know that about himself, right? He is a bit self-aware, at least. But when his father is dying, and then dies pretty early on in this, he leaves it in his will that his whole fortune will either go to Javier or it will go to charity. Those are the 2 choices. And he will have 6 months to prove himself worthy of getting to keep his inheritance. If not, he'll lose it. Now, at first, he's not that interested. He doesn't care. He's like, fine, let it all go to charity, whatever. But he's convinced by Sloan, who I should maybe point out to her. She's actually a public relations person. She owns her own company that she does this. She also is from a rich family, but in her case, she actually has been cut off. You find out more about why and how, of course, as you read it. But she has made her own way in the world for the last few years, for sure. And she takes on Javier's, I think it was his dad who like hired her originally. And she's making sure he keeps his name out of the papers and that he doesn't tarnish the family name. But when Javier is given this ultimatum of you have 6 months to become CEO of a company and have it be voted on by a panel of 5 that they agree that you are a successful CEO. Now on this panel, there are some people we know and some people we don't, and one of them is actually Sloan. She gets put on this as well, which is a very interesting choice from the father, but I'm sure he knows that she would be a very honest view, have an honest view of him. And I think Dante is also on the list as well. I can't really remember, but then we have Sloan, this high-powered publicist, and she is a bit exasperated with Javier all the time because he, of course, is a bit of a difficult client for her, but they are very attracted to each other, and he, pretty early on in this book, actually gets her to agree that, like, we have a great chemistry, why don't we see where it's gonna go? And she's like, that would be just improper, blah, 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 and he's like, you're an adult, you can decide if it's improper or not, but I would really like to try dating you, and I think you should give me a chance. And so for a good portion of this book, This is not a fake dating, not any of that thing. They are having a trial run, basically as being girlfriend and boyfriend. And I won't say any more about that part of it, but those are kind of the two things we have going on. We have Javier, I'm so sorry. I need to pronounce this right. We have Javier, who is trying to get a business going and become successful enough to win this over, because he does realize that it isn't just about him keeping the money. It's that it is his legacy. It isn't just, you know, he could do so much with it for good as well, instead of just letting it go to waste, basically. So yeah, so this is his story, and I really, really liked this one. I think in the series, King of Greed is still my favorite, the one before this, but this one was really good. I loved the blue. So the next one coming up in this series is actually going to be King of Envy, and we meet who that is in here. We also, there's going to be a sports spinoff that she writes next, and that's going to be about Asher Donovan, who is a soccer player, and he is actually in this book one of Sloane's clients as well. So that was kind of cool to see where that's going to go. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. All right, then I wanted to go back to the beginning of a series that I love, because I talk a lot about the third book in this series, and I wanted to give some love to the previous books in the series, just in case, you know, to try to maybe prompt you into it a little bit more. So I want to talk about Dear Grumpy Boss by Julia Wolf. Now, if you are a viewer of this channel, even for like the last year, you'll know that P.S. You're Intolerable was my favorite book I read last year. And that one is book 3 in the series. And Elliot, the hero of that book, his sister Elise is the heroine of this one. So this one is actually a best friend's sister. But in this one we have Weston Aldrich, and he ends up being Elise's boss. So Elise ends up leaving a dead-end relationship and moving to where her brother lives. And now her brother, as we said, is Elliot, and there's 3 billionaires who are all best friends, and they each like own their own company and do their own thing, but they're besties basically. And so instead of getting his sister a job at his company, where, you know, there would be a lot of I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I just forgot what nepotism? I don't know, whatever. Instead of him being like her direct boss or something, she gets put under Weston. And so, yeah, so then things start with them. And so for this one, we have her, she is a curvy heroine, because that's what Julia Wolf does so well. And then we have a grumpy Weston. And what gets started with this series and is the theme through the series, right? Because all of these are kind of like letter or email writing titles. You know, we have Dear Grumpy Boss, we have Sincerely or Inconvenient Wife, P.S. You're Intolerable, and then the 4th one that's coming is Not So Truly Yours, right? And that one's actually going to be about his brother, which is Miles, who I'm very excited to read about. I just love that character so much. So yeah, he's very grumpy, but they begin this, you know, they have their email correspondence, and she begins to start some of her letters with Dear Grumpy Boss, and she'll say that in some of the snark. So there are lots of emails passed back and forth, which is really fun. So I thought this one was so cute. I really did. This was the first or the second, I think, of the like adult titles of Julia Wolf's that I read. I had previously read her new adult titles, but I was offered if I would also like to try her adult books, and I was like, well, of course. And so this was my introduction to her, and I love her adult books as well. I love Julia Wolf. She doesn't get as much love as I wish she would. I actually have an entire video, which I'll link up here, that is my deep dive into Julia Wolf, and I talk about all of the books that she's written. So if you would like to know more about her, you can check that out. But go ahead and give this one a try. The audiobooks are available for books 1 through 3. P.S. You're Intolerable just came out on audio, and then Not So Truly Yours will be out later this month. So definitely give it a go. All right, then we will take a bit of a shift change here. And I want to recommend something a little more mafia focused, in case you would like to have some recommendations for the upcoming mafia readathon. And this is Snowf Falling by Davidson King. And this author, and particularly this book, was actually recommended to me by my friend Daniela. She actually got me a signed copy of this, which was so sweet. And this one is about Snow, who is kind of someone who lives on the streets, and he's running from his past. And so he doesn't tell anybody his name. He doesn't trust anyone. But then he comes across this young boy who is about to be attacked by this group of like thugs, basically. And Snow puts himself in between these boys and this man and basically trades his body with the bad guy and is like, let me get this boy to safety, and then I will come back and you can have your way with me as payment for letting this boy go. So he's literally willing to trade his body for this little boy's. Young man's. And what he doesn't know is this young man he just saved is, I believe he's the nephew. Yeah, his 8-year-old nephew of Christopher Manos, who is a crime boss. And so when Christopher gets the call to come pick up his nephew, he learns that Snow saved him. And when he sees the precarious situation that Snow has himself in, he just can't turn away. At first it is just because his nephew is like, we have to help him. He risked his life for me. And the little boy, again, he doesn't realize the trade that Snow has made. He doesn't understand what was going to happen to him, but he knows that something bad is going to happen. And so he asks his uncle to please take care of Snow. And so Snow actually gets invited to live at Christopher's house. And while he's living there, the connection definitely grows between the two of them. And there's more. But it turns out that that man that he did owe himself to, he is also more connected in the criminal world than Snow, than Christopher could have known. And so we definitely find ourselves in some tricky situations. But I really like this one. The audiobooks are on AnyPlay as well as Audible Plus. I'm actually going to be continuing this series for the Mafia Readathon. I'm excited to do that. So yeah, definitely check this out. This first one isn't too long at all, so you can dive in. It's a quicker audiobook and you can see if you'll like it for sure. Okay, then I have one that this isn't a super far throwback, but I really liked this one, and it was one that had surprised me because I previously had some struggles with this author, but this one really won me over, and that is actually Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is book 1 in the Lakefront Billionaires. It does spin off from her Dreamland Billionaires, but those are the ones that I didn't like that much, and so I was nervous with this, but I got an ARC from Bloom, an e-ARC, and I actually bought myself a copy of this because I loved it so much. I got an e-ARC of this one, and I was like, well, I'll give it a go. This will be my very last Lauren Asher try. I'll give it a go. And I like this one, which is good because this is a thick beast. But this one is like a childhood frenemies to lovers scenario. And this is about Julian, who he's a billionaire, as we say. He is a real estate developer, and he has loved Dahlia Munoz for a long time, but they were kind of like frenemies when they were young. And when there was the opportunity for him to make a move, he had something really traumatic happen in his life. He lost, I believe it was his father who died. And so he took over like the company and started running everything. And the other thing that is kind of cute is part of the reason they were like frenemies to lovers is that their moms are really close friends. And I just thought that was so cute because it's something where they can't fully avoid each other because anytime they're both home, like their moms are always together. And I was like, I have friends in my life like that too, where their moms are besties. And so it was just inevitable that the kids would be besties. But when Dahlia ends up coming back to town, she is she's actually from like a TV show that does like remodels, and her fiance was who she was on this show with, and he is like leaving her for someone else. And so she is headed home. She needs to be around her loved ones, and it's going to be really embarrassing because the most current season that is going to be coming out is the one where I believe she's still like with her partner in it. And so she has to like see the devolving of her relationship like play out on TV, which is just like really sad to see. So she needs a pick-me-up. And so there is this home that, or this, I think it's a historical home or something that needs a reboot. And she's an interior designer. That's what she does. And so Julian gets a little bit like strong-armed into having her work with him on this redesign by his mother, of course, exerting things. And it's not that he wouldn't want to help her out. It's that now his greatest temptation is just right in front of him all the time, and he's having to spend time with her, and he knows he's not going to be able to hide his desire for long, because one of the things that I didn't mention is that this man that she was engaged to was Julian's college roommate, and this man kind of usurped Julian's chance with her when Julian had everything, like I said, kind of spiral out of control. This other man kind of came in and scooped her up, and, you know, he never had a chance to fix it. But I really liked this one. It was a really good slow burn. You could tell how much longing and desire for her the hero had, and how he's definitely grumpy and standoffish, but it's because he cares so much. And yeah, there's some great characters that were shown. I can't wait for the next one, which I can't remember what it's going to be called, but it's going to have like the love title again. But Rafa Lopez is the one who's coming next, and I'm very excited for that. So do really recommend this. And I do have links to all of these books down below if you would like to purchase a copy. Using the Amazon links does help out the channel, but even if you just want to link to it to add it to a wish list or something, it also helps out. And then the last one I want to mention is a fanfic. Like I said, I don't have a pretty card for this one, so I'll just make sure to tell you, and I will link to the AO3 link down below. If you don't know, I have people ask almost every time I talk about a fanfiction. You cannot buy a fanfiction anywhere. You cannot purchase a copy of this. You get them for free, but they are an ebook, and you can go to an archive of our own. That's what AO3 stands for. And you can read them that way. They're able to be sent to your Kindle. You can download an EPUB and send to your Kindle just like you would with an ARC or a book you purchased online. And you can read it that way. And they're all free. No one can charge for them. So yeah, I always have people ask where I can buy a copy, because I do have some physical bind-ups, but those were gifts from people. I didn't buy them. There's no place I can go to do that. So the one I want to talk about today is a accidental pregnancy draminy, and it's called Mind the Bump. And it is single dad Draco. He has a young Scorpius, and he's a widower. His wife actually died birthing Draco. It was very traumatic for him, and so he hasn't been much of the social circle since then. He's really kind of stayed out of it and just put his head down, but he's convinced to come to a party that Theo is hosting, and Hermione happens to be there as well, and like they end up talking like over the punch bowl, over the water cooler, and they are surprised by the chemistry they have after all these years, and them being kind of like enemies in school. They have this crazy chemistry, so they actually have a one-night stand. They both think the other person is on birth control, but they don't check. What I love about the Wizarding world is usually men have a birth control option too, which I just love. I wish that was possible in real life. But anyway, so yeah, she ends up getting pregnant, and when she tells him, he's of course stunned. But I mean, they both are intrigued about this. The only thing is, once they get a little ways into the pregnancy, it becomes clear that this pregnancy isn't normal. It's what's called like a magically entwined pregnancy. And it means that the closer to due date that Hermione gets, the more she's going to need to be around Draco, because his magic and hers need to touch to help things go smoothly. So if he's even in a different room from her, she will start having like pain and cramping and stuff. So this leads to her end up moving in and like sharing she's in, you know, like the Duchess room, let's say, and he's in here. Like there's a closet that connects their two rooms to start with. Okay, right? To start with. And little Scorpius is immediately obsessed with Hermione, and he's so excited that he's going to have a little sibling coming, and he's just the cutest. He's so cute. I love little Scorpius so much. And yeah. And so then they do at first go back to like, oh, we're just going to be co-parents, but that doesn't last for long, especially because their magic wants them to be near each other. And it's really powerful. The only dangerous part is that Draco's pregnancy, or not his, but the pregnancy of Scorpius was also magically entwined, and his wife didn't survive that. Also, he is from a magically entwined pregnancy between, you know, Lucius and Narcissa, and that was very difficult on Narcissa too. So he's very worried about what that will mean for Hermione. But this is a romance, so it's going to work out. But again, I'll have a link to this down below. It was really sweet. This one ended up only being like 350 pages. Sometimes my Kindle will tell me how many pages, other times I just have to guess. But I really liked this one. So thank you so much for watching this. Let me know some random books that you recommend to me, or better yet, use my book rec form. That's always linked down below. I also have a video recommendation form if there's a video you'd like to see. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.